the day I saw my dad cry was the day that I really was ready to take and go to treatment, because that showed me that it was no longer about my behavior, it was concern.
Hello, and welcome to Breaking Down Addiction, a podcast brought to you by National Addiction Specialists. You got Johnny Phillip here, and I'm joined with Chad Elkin.
Chad Elkin, good to see y'all today.
And our very special guest today is Tyler Bowman.
Oh,
Thank you so much for joining us.
thanks for having me, man.
We're really excited to have you, and I want to hear about everything in your life, your story, whatever you're willing to share, Brooks Healing Center, this podcast you have coming up. But first question, first things first, if you were with yourself right now, sitting across yourself in active addiction, what would you say to him?
Oh, man, this one chokes me. I've had this question before. I think I cried last time I got it, but I'd honestly tell myself that you are enough, that whatever you think about yourself is not real. It's a lie. You know, you are here for a purpose. You don't have to have all the answers right now, and that's okay, but you just got to take one step at a time and you'll figure it out.
I love it.
That's great.
One step at a time, I think, is key. But let's take it back in your life here. You grew up in Murfreesboro. What do you think, growing up in Murfreesboro, your upbringing, good or bad, what experiences did you have there, and how did that form your life?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, my parents met in college. They went to Middle Tennessee State, and they were fraternity and sorority, groups. So they met that way, and my mother actually graduated. My father didn't. When she got pregnant, he decided to go roof, 9 hours shy of graduating in finance. So he decided he didn't want to sit in a cubicle all day, and I think he thought it was logical to go, put shingles on a roof. And
That's hard work.
it is. And
Really
and here's the funny story. Like, he tells it all the time. Like, he fell into real estate basically because he saw somebody showing a house while he was on a roof one day, and he was like, I can do that. And he did. He became very successful at it and builds now today. But growing up, it was tough because my parents divorced when I was 5. I had memories of them arguing and, me trying to, put their hand together when I knew they were getting separated. So I had a lot of stuff going on as a kid. And, I'll say that my parents were doing the best they could. They were dealing with their own personal finance issues, going through the divorce. They were dealing with a lot, and as a kid, you internalize those things. And I wanted nothing more for to have a family. I wanted a mom and dad together, and so Mom told me stories about, just trying to put their hand back together and trying to reconnect them, and how it broke her heart. But like, those things really stuck with me, and it's weird because we'll get there, like, it bled into relationships down the road, because I thought in my mind, if you love somebody, no matter what, you make it work. That's what I took out of the situation, because I'm like, they didn't do that, right? They gave up. They quit. And so, and I'll leave this for later, but like, I started to force very unhealthy relationships as a result of that mentality, right?
I'm glad you said that,
Yeah.
because my parents separated years and years ago, and I never thought it affected me deep down. And I never thought that it caused me to have a drinking issue or have unhealthy relationships. I think that's the basis of all my problems.
And it's not them. Like, they are the way they are, and you can't control whether they change. But even now, 10 years removed, now the relationship I have with my parents, and being a parent, like, I understand, like, where my part comes in as a father is I got to have those conversations in those moments that I didn't get, right?
Yeah.
Because I have to be attentive to their feelings. So, it wasn't that they were intentionally trying to do these things to me. It's just I internalized them that way, and then I never talked about it.
Yeah.
And when you don't talk about it, you don't have resolution.
Yeah, I think people show the love that they've seen in their own lives. You know, so the love that you've received is usually the way you show love to other people too. So I totally agree with you. So the type of love that your parents show you as a person will usually be reflected in the way you show love to other people, whether that's a girlfriend or spouse or kids, etc. You know, and understanding that and talking about that and going through your ACE questionnaires. Have you ever done an ACE questionnaire?
Yes.
Yeah. Probably never heard of that, right?
Not at all. Not at all. But you know, like getting back to like the divorce and going through that, like it was. Go ahead.
Time out though on
Yeah.
that. Did you have any siblings to go through this with?
No, I was the only child. Yeah.
So you're just in this alone.
Yeah.
With your parents battling it out.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
and as a result of that, it was very easy to play both sides. You know what I mean? So when I look back at like early stages of becoming an addict, like the behaviors start before the actual substance starts, and that's what a lot of people don't recognize is like it's if your relationships are affected, if your anxiety and depression's there, if you're not handling life as it comes, right? Like that's the disease. That's the
100%.
disease that we talk about. And so I can have that at 10 years sober. That's, you know, honestly why like I've picked up meetings and sponsorship and stuff, because at 10 years sober, I realized that what was working then may not be working now. And I had to get back to the basics, you know.
I think that's a huge
imperative.
thing that people in recovery have to notice is that even if you have long-term sobriety, I have 13 and a half years, it's not perfect and it's not hunky-dory, and there's going to be things that you realize that this behavior was surfacing that has been around for the last 10 years and you didn't realize.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's dangerous to obsess over making meetings? Because
For me, I
I
don't.
found it hard because I would obsess to the point that I would be afraid that I was going to relapse. I would almost manifest that in my mind. And I went through a stage in my recovery where I'm like, I'm going to go to meetings, but like if life happens, I'm not going to make excuses, but I'm not going to go to that mindset of like, oh my God, that's not good. You know, because I feel like in our mind, we can fabricate our own anxiety too around those things.
Absolutely.
So I didn't know if you had that experience like I did, where I had to learn to make sure that I'm on schedule, I'm doing my 90 and 90, I'm doing all those things, but like I'm also not too rigid.
Those are big expectations.
Sure.
I also think that is along with obsessive thoughts, which that's something I struggle with. And whether it's like jealousy or something that is there, like I get this grain of a thought and I can carry it for 2 years. But it's something I'm working on with my therapist. So maybe this is something that you have to unearth a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
But, and that's the reality. Like it's, you're always doing work. Like if you're not, you're stagnant. Right. And that's what made me increase my stuff, because it's like, I'm good now, but I got to make sure that I'm taking care of me, because if I'm not good, I'm not good for my wife. I'm not good for my kids, my employees, or anybody else. And I think it's real easy, especially in this industry, like in servitude, and helping people to forget yourself and to make it your recovery.
Yeah, no, good point.
Yeah, I think y'all are making both good points here. I think addiction in general is such a complex disease. You know, like it's not just a neurological brain disease. You know, is it spiritual? Is it behavioral? You know, it really affects. You know, the concept of addiction really affects who we are as human beings.
Right.
You know, and to some extent, every single person, regardless of whether they've had a substance use disorder and, you know, been defined as you're using too much of blank, whatever it is, alcohol or heroin or whatever, you know, people have addictions to sugar. People have addictions to, you know, what are you doing in your life that you're addicted to? You know what I mean? So it's not just, you know, it affects everybody in different ways. And to some extent, all of society is addicted in some way to something that's probably not good, you know? And so it's like, just because we're talking about substance use disorder doesn't mean, you know, this doesn't affect other people in various ways too.
Right.
So, Yeah, would you agree with that?
I do, and
Yeah.
I think I say that actually often when I'm talking to staff or people that are coming to work in this line of work, because maybe they're coming from a hospital and they've dealt with addicts, but not from that side of things, right?
Right.
And they're like, I just don't know how to connect because I can't relate. And I'm like, listen, like if you can remove the substance and look at it as the symptom and then realize that all these other things, the mental health is really what's driving it, and then you can relate it to the fact of what you just said, that we struggle with eating, sex. People have other spending issues where they go in debt and file bankruptcy. Gambling, which are just as dangerous, it's just easier to hide. It's not as much in your face as drugs and alcohol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, speaking to addiction, let's take it back
Yeah.
to when you started using at 16 and
Yeah.
how this progression happened. And you can take this, Chad. If
Yeah.
You want.
Yeah.
So, you started with, I guess, smoking and drinking,
Mm-hmm.
and then, I guess, went to Adderall, pills,
Mm-hmm.
opioids, and eventually heroin. So you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. It escalated quickly, but
How quick you think?
I'd say by the time I got to painkillers and identified, my drug of choice, probably 18.
So a couple of years.
Yeah, and I mean, I really did start late. I didn't start drinking or using any substance until my sophomore, junior year. But it was drinking, smoking weed at first, and then it kind of it morphed. Once I got prescribed Adderall, it really kind of set everything in motion. I started hanging with the wrong people that were taking it the wrong way, so I started abusing it. Then eventually I found Laura tabs, and when that happened, I was in that whole generation of millennials that painkillers were readily available on the street.
Laura tabs were huge, from my understanding.
Oxys, I mean, they were around when I was using. Then it kind of morphed into other stuff, but like the progression was pretty quick. It started with IV morphine, taking Laura tabs orally, things like that. But
Where were you finding Laura tabs and morphine at that time?
I mean,
Like
just
through friends and stuff?
drug friends, acquaintances,
Drug buddies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people that do similar things that you get contacts from at parties, and then you buddy up, and then you start using together, and then you steal each other's stuff and hate each other, because that's the relationship of having somebody hostage using with you, right?
Yeah.
So
And then these terrible behaviors start happening, and this progression towards heroin. Do you think that was over a 2-year period, or was that even
no.
after
So
high school?
in 2011, I had 3 consecutive charges where I got in trouble. So I was looking at 1129 and 940, and they were, trying to decide what they were going to do, and ultimately the judge let me go to treatment in 2011. That really started my journey, but that wasn't where the heroin started.
Okay.
So
these charges were pre-heroin.
yeah.
Okay.
And so I left Murfreesboro in 2011 and started my little journey, going in and out of programs for treatment. And I was a raging codependent because you took the drugs away. I had to find someone, right? So I went to the same treatment facility 3 times, got kicked out all 3 times for fraternizing. And then on the 3rd time, I ended up marrying her and having a child. And so basically, once I left treatment, I moved down to Florida. I was sober for about a year. I was doing well. I was staying sober because I was hanging out with people in recovery, living in a sober living down there while she was pregnant. It was a really dark time for me because she was drinking when I didn't know it while she was pregnant, and
Oh my God.
Wow.
almost jumped out on the interstate when I caught her drinking one night. We were driving. I, pointed it out. I was like, I could smell it, and I had to pull my pregnant ex-wife back in the car. She was trying to jump out going 80 on 75. So it was a scary time because, I had to threaten to basically leave if you don't stop drinking, because I said, I don't want this baby to have issues because you can't stop.
Right.
And we moved from Florida to take custody of her daughter. And mind you, I was still sober at the time, but she was still going through her stuff where she would sporadically drink. We moved up to Marietta, Georgia, took custody of her daughter. I started working at a GNC, which I was a manager at one in Florida, so I transferred to Marietta. And man, once we had the baby, that's when things really kind of escalated because she hemorrhaged during giving birth, and it was,
which could be,
oh dude, it was traumatic. It was traumatic for me because they're trying to hand me Charlotte, and they're handing her to me all the while she's over here bleeding, and I'm asking the doctor, is she going to be okay? And he legally can't say yes or no, so he's like, I don't know, which freaked us out even more.
Was she drinking throughout the entire pregnancy? I'm just trying to think.
Sporadically.
If it had to do with her liver issues or anything like that. The
Just
sporadically.
sporadically.
Okay, got it.
But once she hemorrhaged, they gave her Lortabs to go home with, and then I started noticing money coming up missing, Amazon packages not showing up that were ordered, quote unquote. Okay. And so I followed her one night when she said she was going to the gym because I knew I wasn't crazy. Right?
Yeah.
I was like, where are these packages?
Weird circumstances.
I know I'm not nuts. Like, none of them have gotten here. You haven't got a refund.
You haven't seen like the TikTok videos of people taking all the packages off the...
Yeah, well, my wife now. Yeah, we get a lot of those. But anyways, I followed her, and she went to the ATM and pulled money, and then she was heading towards the Bluffs in downtown Atlanta. And I called her, and I was like, where are you headed? She's like, I'm going to the gym. Like, the gym's towards the Bluffs in downtown Atlanta? And she's like... gaslighting. You're crazy. I was just going for a drive, and then a week later, she tells me that her old dealer, coincidentally, 3 years later, still had the same phone number. I thought drug dealers were supposed to get burner phones and turn those over every so often. Yeah. Not this guy. And so, so we ended, yeah, thanks for picking up, buddy. So he became my drug dealer too. And that's when it went, I'd already done IV with prescription pills, right? I was already doing stuff like that, so it was an easy transition at that point. So once I had the heroin, it was very fast. Within a year and a half, I overdosed 5 times.
How old are you at this point?
It was quick.
How old are you at this
38.
point? 38.
Oh, no, I'm 38 now. No. I was 28.
When you started heroin?
25.
25.
25 when I started heroin.
Got it.
I do want to rewind just a tiny bit because I want to get into that, but these charges, can you speak to what those were? Or
you started throwing out numbers. I don't know if everybody knows what this 940 and everything else
are
are.
either.
Yeah. Well, that's about as close as I get to jail talk because I didn't make it past the holding cell. So, but
so you had 3 consecutive charges.
3 consecutive.
They sponged into one, but what happened there?
Yeah. So I had a DUI where I had prescription Klonopin because at the time I was actually going to a doctor doing the fun little Suboxone Klonopin concoction they used to do back in the day. And I had the Klonopin in the car. I had just had a drink at Applebee's literally an hour and a half before. Probably one of the few times I actually wasn't intoxicated or under the influence. Got pulled over. I had a 6-pack in the back of the car. I was heading to a girl's house that I was dating, and they got me out of the car, breathalyzed me, did all this stuff, and I know I passed the breathalyzer, but I know I passed the field of sobriety, but I was being a jerk. I was in the back of the car, and I slipped my hands under my feet and knocked on the window and asked for a cigarette, which you probably shouldn't do. So they yanked me out and gave me the better handcuffs and threw me back in the car. So at that point, I was like, well, I got to pee. So if you're going to take me to jail, just do it. And they did. And then my father showed up and they were like, yeah, we were going to let him go, but he was just being a jerk. So that was the first one. Second one, I got caught by my girlfriend using. And so I flipped out and tossed her
What did they
ring.
charge you with in the first go around though?
The first one would have been driving under the influence.
Okay.
They pegged me with that because they said my prescription said don't operate heavy machinery. They found a loophole. They got me because I was
a better lawyer.
Well, I should have been respectful. Is what should have happened.
Well, yeah, that too. My dad always said, if you get pulled over by the police, et cetera, always make sure to be respectful and just only answer the questions that they ask.
Roll your window
Don't add
down before they
anything,
get there.
Don't ask them
Yeah.
for a cigarette.
Don't slip
Yeah.
your handcuffs under your feet and knock on the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second one, it was labeled like damage to property because I threw her ring out the window, and then she got freaked out because I was upset. So she went into the store in the parking lot we were in and ran in and told them that she was scared. So they came, and the guys even showed up. They were like, "Man, we know it's not escalated that far, but he's like, we got to take you because in these calls we got to take somebody for safety." So they took me, and so I was in the grass looking for the ring when they showed up to arrest me. That was the worst part. I was like, oh God, I could have returned that, and I'm in the grass looking for it
Get
as
a
they
metal
pull up.
detector out there.
Yeah. So that was the second one. The third one, I sold 100 Loratabs to an undercover narcotics officer.
What they charge you with for that one?
Well, I ended up, because I went to treatment and pled guilty, they rolled it all into one. They dropped it to like a C-class felony from an A because it would have been a C or an A.
That was your first felony?
Yeah, only.
Yeah.
Only,
Got it.
yeah. So DUI and then that. But they rolled that into one. But the best part was my attorney came in. He was like, I'm going to look at the video and just see if we can dispute it. Dude, he was gone 30 seconds. He walked in. Thomas goes, "Nope, we can't deny it. It's you." And I'm like, dang. And then they wanted me to be an informant. So I told them the truth. I said, "Man, I just want to go to treatment." I was like, the person that set me up as an informant, they were using, y'all set me up through them. They were selling me the pills. Then they asked me to get them some, and I'm just the middleman. Mm-hmm. And I was like, not only that, these people are dangerous, which I lied about. But I'm like, I'm not being an informant where I'm tied up in my addiction. So by the grace of God, they didn't throw the book at me. I had 5 years probation, 5 years of probation, and then I just still have that on my record now, which is...
Have you ever thought about trying to expunge it?
I can. I've been so far removed I can go federally. It's just a lot. You have to go through a lot.
Too,
you
right?
have to write out literally everything you've acquired, your whole life story, what's happened since you got sober. Like, you have to go through this whole process and get it approved. But that's actually my plan next year when I get through
That's great.
some of the craziness at work.
Yeah. I think that should be I think from if there are politicians or people that lobbyists or people that deal with advocacy that are listening, I think that's something that we should be focusing on is people that have drug charges and end up with felonies because of their addiction, their chronic brain disease. In general, if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, if they're going to treatment, if they've been clean for a while, it should be easier to expunge it. That way, it doesn't affect their job. Perspective.
It's not easy though.
The job issues.
And
I know it's not. But it should be easier.
Yeah.
I agree.
Based on should be a process for that where a physician can sign off on, or multiple physicians can sign off on something that this person's doing great, et cetera. Give that to the judge.
And I don't know if the county can. I mean, I got feedback from a couple of judges, and they told me how to go about it. They said I could go through the state if I didn't want to go federal, which is kind of an in-between.
I think you have to pay, too. It's pretty expensive. Like, you have to pay the government X amount of money, thousands upon thousands of dollars, just to even... It's like you're buying your expungement to some
to
extent.
be able to vote
which
again.
I don't feel like that's...
And to exercise
that
my
doesn't-
Second Amendment right, and all those things to protect my kids.
I wish you luck next year.
Yeah.
Keep us posted. Let us know if you need any help. Moral support,
Yeah.
sounding board.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest, you're talking about the barriers for people coming out of their addiction. That's really one of the things that was difficult because, I don't know if you had any experience with this, but it was like getting life insurance even for my kids, things like that, pre-existing conditions. Like, it's not, the system's not really set up for people to get back on their feet and to do that. And like,
True.
that was the hard thing. Like, I went through and did a policy with another company, and they wanted my whole life story and denied me because of my history. And it's like, I'm just trying to, if something happens to me, provide for my kids. And then you got the deal with the insurances too, wanting to deny you pre-existing. So there's a lot of things that I feel like need to change, because if we're going to give people an opportunity to change, then give them the platform to do it.
Definitely. Yeah. You were talking about insurance. That's something we try to do we recently, over the last 6 months, we've been trying to do with our patients is try to help them out to navigate the insurance world, because it's pretty complex. And a lot of people just don't understand their options. You know, like, you know, if you're below a certain poverty level, you know, you make X amount per year, you qualify for Medicaid, TennCare. You know, above that, you know, even if you don't qualify for Medicare, you can probably still get a subsidy from the government, one of the exchange insurances, and Better Oscar, those types of things for Tennessee.
That's awesome.
You know, that where it's really not that expensive, you know, and people don't understand, you know, they don't know how to navigate that. They don't know where to go for that. So I think that's another area that we need to have focus on, especially with your, you know, you're talking about these experiences you had, be beneficial for you as well. Looking back, you went recovery in 2011. You know, what did you learn at that time in your recovery?
I was really good at starting things and not finishing them. And then I tend to burn myself out. Those were two pretty big things that I had to understand about myself to be able to correct a lot of my issues. I was always good at restarting, but being consistent with things. And of course, I don't know an addict out there that wouldn't probably agree that that was a symptom that they dealt with.
I feel that in my soul when you said that.
Yeah. So, you know, those were some of the first things that I had to address, because if I could do that, I could stay sober. If I could not burn out on both ends or practice self-care, then I'm in a better place to not be triggered to want to use.
And you were sober 2011, but then there was a relapse that happened like 2015, somewhere around there.
It was all between.
All
the way from 2011 to 2015, it was in and out of rehabs. I went to 6 different programs total, one of them 3 times.
You know what the average number of times it takes somebody to go through rehab?
6 to 7.
7, that's right.
Yeah. And I get, like, I don't like saying that to parents, but I like to be honest when I talk to them on the front, and I'm very, you know,
for everybody.
I'm just like, look, there are one-time winners every once in a while, but I'm not trying to scare you. Just know that if we don't get it the first time, like, we just stay on top of it, right? It takes time.
Yeah, I always compared to diabetes and like eating a cookie. You know, it's like, how many times are you going to let your dad, who has diabetes, like eat cookies? How many times does he mess up? You know, probably a lot more than 7 times, right?
Yeah. Well,
so it's like, you know, there's, you know, how many times should Jesus forgive us for our sins, right? 7 times 70, you know, unlimited, right? So it's the same idea.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I think it's just. You got to forgive yourself too. That was the hardest thing for me, was just getting to the point of, like, once all the damage was done with relationships and the kids and everything else, you know, it's like, how do you love yourself enough to be that person moving forward? That was what I had to find. And ultimately I could only find that through my faith. That was the only thing in my 10 years. That's literally the only thing that sustains me.
That's great.
Glad you found it. And also, I mean, 7 times or 6 or 7 times in treatment. What did you learn between that relapse and getting sober that second time? Like, what was different then, do you think, besides you finding your faith?
Sure. I mean, I was going to say this a minute ago because what you said really brought this up, but, like, we grow at the speed of pain. I'm a firm believer that humans, until the pain's great enough, we don't change anything. And sometimes even then we don't change it, right? So I think that once the pain was great enough and I saw the damage that I had caused to the people that loved me the most, more specifically to my daughters, I think that's what did it, because they were held hostage in my addiction. You know, they were riding with me to drug dealers' houses, or, I mean, I remember 2011, that snowstorm that happened in Atlanta. I was in that in a corrective 4-wheel drive Acura for 7 hours with both my kids, and one was a newborn. We were changing diapers in the back seat, and it was just so I could not be sick. And then the drugs were gone by the time I got back home, you know, and put them in a dangerous spot, man. Like, when that happened, the GPSs weren't working. Everything was jammed from satellites, from cars. You know, people can't go anywhere. Like, I was moving vehicles. Like, people were like, "Oh, thank you so much." I'm like, "Get out of the way." Like, I'm DT. And, like, But then I look back on that, and I think that was some of the hardest stuff, but also the motivators. It's like, I got to be better for them. And I started there. I started with them, but then through working and actually doing the assignments in treatment and not putting it off and not participating like I did before.
Yeah, so
that's when things changed.
It's not just one piece. There's many pieces. And I remember when I went to treatment, I remember the people working there. I went to Hazelden in Minnesota, and they were telling me, are you doing this for you, or are you doing this for your family? And I said, I'm doing it for my family. And they're like, it's only going to work if you do it for yourself. And I'm glad I was truthful in that moment, because I did need that grain of doing it for my family, because I didn't give a fuck about myself at that point. But then later on, I was doing it for myself. So there's many moving pieces there.
Well, and that's where, like, I don't know. I think too, I went through so much this last time in early recovery with, Tiffany passing away, my ex-wife, having to go through the funeral and, like, signing the papers, because then we were separated for 2 years, but she would not sign the papers out of fear I was going to take the kids, which wasn't my plan. She wasn't healthy. I just wanted the kids to be okay.
How many kids did you have with her?
Just one. But we had a stepdaughter as well. But
how old was your child when she passed away?
1.
1 year old.
So, it was tough, man. Like, my parents they had their opinions. I took Charlotte to the funeral. My mom didn't agree with it, but I was like, listen, this is my decision. I'm not going to have my child telling her therapist that her dad didn't take her to her mom's funeral when she's older, and it was gut-wrenching, man. Like, I didn't, when they did the visitation before and the casket was open, I didn't let her go in there. Yeah. But it was tough because, like, when the pictures came up, she was like, that's my mom, and so just being there, witnessing that, and then, like, going through that and the feelings around that, healing from that, the loss, of knowing that Charlotte won't have her in her life anymore, even though we're not together. It just showed me that there's nothing in this world that can bring me back to drugs and alcohol if I can make it through that. It's my choice. Every morning I wake up, I have a choice. I can either destroy everything I built and go back to the old me, or I can keep pressing forward and be who I was meant to be. And I think that's what I want to instill in my kids now, because my greatest fear is they go the direction I went.
Yeah, because they're potential. You don't want the things that happen to you, the trauma from your early childhood, to happen. You don't want your kids to go through the same thing and potentially end up in the same basket. And you're making a good point that addiction doesn't just affect the person that's addicted to something, a substance. Affects a lot of other people, family and friends.
And thank you for sharing all that, too.
Thanks.
And that must have been a really tough point of your life.
Yeah.
How did your kid deal with it at that time?
Well, it was hard, man. Like, I remember after the funeral, there were nights, it kind of creeped my wife out a little bit, but she'd say that she could see her mom. Like,
wow.
She was young. She would say she would see her and stuff. And, I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not going to tell my child that she didn't, right? Yeah. But, that was hard. I think she went through a weird transition, and I had to tell her at first, because she couldn't grasp the concepts of drugs, then that it was medicine. Then as she got older, I told her from the beginning, I said, look, you're not old enough to understand now, but anytime you're ready or you do understand, like, we'll talk about it, So then it moved into, okay, she was taking medicine. And then as she got older, she understood what drugs and alcohol were. So I was able to have that conversation.
How old is she now?
She's 12, and she still deals. She deals with stuff from it, right?
It'll never go away. Yeah.
No, she's just very safe. It's the opposite of me. I'm the reckless one in the house, and all my girls are safe. My wife's a very safe person.
That's what all little girls need. They don't need to be tough. They just need to be safe.
That's it. Yeah. But I'll say this, man, like, very intuitive, very smart, but she's got some of me in her, and that's where I'm like, I've seen that behavior before. So, you know, I think the important thing with her is that we continue the conversation. We did put her in therapy, but she didn't really talk about it much. And really what I came to a conclusion on is like feeding into it more than is necessary, because I know how she is, right? Like she wants to pull her mom's stuff down and look at it, and then she'll get in a mood, you know? And I'm like, that's self-inflicted. I'm like, we can talk about it, but let's not mope around, because we can't change it.
Right.
We can't change the way things turned out, but she would want you to be happy and to not be upset, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
It was
so
hard,
tough.
and it's still hard because I
You
still
want her to go through that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, you want her to relive those memories and that feeling of nostalgia of wanting to remember her mom. And if she was one when she passed, you know, you don't really have memories of that.
Yeah.
So she's holding on to that, and that's totally natural.
It's a hard balance. You
Has
know,
she ever
like,
talked to a counselor?
Yeah, she does, but you know, I think a lot of it, there's not a lot to process. It's like when we get somebody that comes in their 60s with addiction, they have a lot of trauma. They've been through a lot of things, right? Versus someone in their 20s that's earlier in their addiction. She didn't have as many experiences with her mother.
Yeah.
But my wife was amazing. My wife now, we've been married 8 years.
How did you guys meet?
Actually, I always joke and say she was stalking me, but she didn't. She was, so we
My
met
wife stalked
online.
me a little bit, so
Only time
I
I've
think it's
ever,
common.
I've only went on a date online once, and it was her. I met her online. My buddy knew that I just gotten out of the marriage. Like he was in the military. We were close friends, and I was like 8 months sober, and I had taken a commitment to stay out of a relationship for a year. That was my commitment to myself. I was like, dude, I'm gonna Clooney it. I don't even know if I ever want to get married again. Not doing it. And then, anyways, my buddy hit me up and he goes, hey, check your messages. He was like, this girl messaged you. He was like, I kind of played wingman on it. He was like, but she loves God and tattoos. I think she's perfect for you. And I was like, well, based on certain texts, that's conflicting. Is it, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, like we started talking and messaging, and then we started doing Snapchat, which was the only time I ever had a Snapchat, was when we first started talking, just so we could kind of, you know, get short clips of each other.
Yeah.
And then we set up to go on a date, and she invited me, but I didn't know this until later. She actually had her dad on speed dial, and code word was Mustang if I was a weirdo. And she was going to have him like come pick her up. Like, cause she never met me. I told you she's safe, right?
Yeah.
So she had this all planned out. So she shows up for the date.
Great idea. I've got girls.
And, but here's the thing. I told her after, I'm like, you did that, but you committed to a 6-hour drive to Miami to go to a concert with me on our first date. I was like, that's a little dangerous too if you don't know me.
Yeah, it is.
But she never used her dad. It went really well, obviously, and we didn't run out of things to talk about. We talked the entire way down, the entire way back from the concert, and then she invited me to church the next day. And honestly, I knew pretty quick that she might be the one, but I was just like, no, hell no, not again. I'm not doing it again. And so I was actually very apprehensive at first. I was kind of gun shy. And then
What concert was it?
it was Halsey and Imagine Dragons. And Halsey wasn't even big yet. She was the headliner, like the starter for the whole.
What a great first date.
But here's the funny part. We loved her. We stayed for all that. When Imagine Dragons came on, we left. We just went down to the casino and hung out. So
Hilarious.
But yeah, so we met that way, and you know, I tell people all the time, it's like it's usually when you're not looking, you know, and I wasn't looking for somebody. So
No, that's a great point.
it obviously worked out really well.
When you were dating looking for people, were you thinking about your children too? Like, how is this person going to be towards my child?
Yeah, because I had to be very upfront about that because I came with baggage. You know, I was going to take custody of Charlotte. That was the plan because her mom wasn't getting well. So, you know, I did date a couple other girls that said they were ready for that. And then it got closer to like the reality of that happening, and that relationship ended. But I was grateful for that because it led me to Gina, you know, so.
And Gina has a bonus kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I was,
Which this baggage is bonus child.
and she loves her like her own, man. She's been in her life since she's 1. So
That's beautiful.
it's her mom, man.
That's great.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think you like came up with the new Nashville bumper sticker.
What is
we
it?
love God and tattoos.
I've gotten tattoos.
With all the music industry here.
Apparently, it's cowboy hats and boots. Everybody
I know,
that moves
I know.
here thinks that we all wear boots and cowboy hats all the time. I think.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, not at all.
For all
No,
the listeners
I
out
have
there,
boots.
Chad has cowboy
So
boots
just so
on.
you know, that wasn't a slight either because I
Yeah,
have
I'm
like
kidding, I'm
4
kidding.
pair.
No, I know.
No, thanks for sharing all
Yeah.
this stuff. I do want to get into, so like you've been to treatment a lot,
Yeah.
relapse, sober again,
Mm-hmm.
and you're using all this experience, and then now you purchase Brooks Healing Center and all this land and these buildings. This is in 2021, so we're like still in the nitty gritty of
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
You buy all of this in Normandy, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
What inspired this? How did it come about? Tell us
Yeah.
all about that.
Some entrepreneurial stuff going on here too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I didn't know I was gonna go that route, but no, I wanted to move back to Tennessee, and so I have to go from there to get to here. But I was looking for a job in outreach, and I called my buddy Mickey that worked for a place in Florida, and I was like, if they have anything available, let me know. I was like, I do not want to work in Florida. I was like, there's no way I will be using next week with all the craziness that goes on down here, because that was about the time they were starting to federally come in and regulate.
Yeah, the
everything.
Florida Shuffle was alive and well.
I was dumb and naive, dude. I just went for treatment. I saw some people walking down the street with bags, but you know there was some craziness going on out there. But
So you're looking for a Tennessee marketing job at this point?
that's what I wanted, and it was the weirdest thing. He called me literally 2 days later, and he was like, "Dude, you're not gonna believe this. They said that they're getting this, Florida shuffle of people that aren't serious about recovery. So they want someone to move home and to bring people from out of state that are serious about recovery because it's affecting the culture." And so they hired me. It was Satori Waters that hired me, and I moved back to Murfreesboro. I think I worked for them for about a month. And within that month, I had put together a town hall meeting before they were what they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't charge for a booth. I had like Bell's Bondsman's there. I was trying to think of everybody that would need resources, right?
It's like vendor tables.
Yeah, and I had like speakers coming to talk about addiction, and that was in early 2013 and 14, somewhere in there. And that was about the time that Journey Pure found me. And Jamie Vance is the one that hired me, and I worked there for 3.5 years.
Rest in peace. to
Yeah,
Jer- to
amazing guy.
So you learned the ropes through working in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
some other recovery centers. That's kind of
That's
you,
what
you had
started
been
it.
at recovery yourself
Yeah.
6 or 7 times. So you learned you could probably work right after that. You probably could have worked there, I'd say probably, and then you did work there for 3.5 years.
And worked there 3.5
and
years.
So that gave you the experience and the knowledge, the know-how potentially to purchase your own place.
No, heck no.
No?
Well, I do have to
They didn't
say-
let us know that. They didn't let us
Yeah.
know the inner workings, really.
I do have to say,
Yeah.
you were probably a hell of a marketer. Because when I first got to know you, I was
Yeah.
like, this dude knows how to talk. This dude knows how to sell something.
It's just baseball, It's the athletes. Athletes are usually
that
good
what it is?
salesmen. Yeah, it is. Athletes are usually
see
good
that.
salesmen.
Pitchers, too.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Business
but-
development, history of athletics,
Well, it's
or
but
musicians.
to me it was an
famous
easy
drummers.
it was an easy sell because it's
Got it.
like I didn't feel like a salesperson. I used to cringe when I go in hospitals, and they'd be like, "What drug rep? Who are you with? What drug rep are you?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm actually the anti-drug rep." And they would kind of giggle a little bit. I'm like, "No, seriously." Like I would get
I like that.
offended getting called the drug rep because I'm like, I'm trying to get people off of those.
Yeah.
So what led you to buy?
So
The center you own
when I
now.
left Journey Pure, I went to work at Tulip Hill Recovery down in Murfreesboro. They're Tulip Hill Healthcare
that.
now. They were converting from a PHP, collegiate PHP program
In Murfreesboro. Yeah.
in Murfreesboro, and so he wanted to grow the program, so I went over there to start working with him. While I was working there, is about the time the dream kind of started to set in because I was like, man, I'm content. I could move into the executive director role. That's what he wanted to train me for and to kind of move into upper management there. But like, I had this, I don't know what it was.
That would have made sense, too.
It was, someone had reached out to me. It was actually Wilson Pruitt. Reached out to me on Brentwood Springs, and we were going to go into a partnership and start a detox, and then we kind of went different directions.
How'd you raise the money?
Well, this is what I was going to get
Yeah.
at. Like, I went, so we were going to start it. We were going to back the detox. We were going to open it down on Old Nashville Highway in Murfreesboro. And about the time we were going to start moving the deal forward, they changed the deal. So I just told them I appreciate everything, but I'm going to go another direction. So getting back to Jamie, that's why I brought him up. He called me right when the deal fell through, because when that happened, I got fired. Because, you know, they brought me in. They were like, hey, you know, been doing this a while. And I'm like, dude, and it was the most cordial, still great friends, still really close, still work together really closely, you know, through referrals. And it was just like, I get it, dude.
Did you have the frame of mind of one door closes, a window opens?
Yeah, I want it, and I felt guilty too. I'm like, man, I'm over here planning this on the side while I'm trying to get people into treatment. I couldn't do that to a friend, right? So so that kind of set me in motion towards where I was looking for investors at that point, because I'm like, now what do I do? So I took a job at a facility in Indiana, and the day I'm flying back from onboarding, Jamie Vance calls me, and he's like, what are you doing? I kind of unload everything and why I'm up in Indiana, because my friend owns a facility up there. And he's like, dude, just come work here until, he's like, I'm tired of seeing you get jerked around for your book of business. Just come work here until you figure out what you want to do. So he gave me a layup, basically. As I'm flying back, Jamie's like, well, meet me in Nashville. So we meet at like 6 a.m. because my flight out of Indiana was at 4 in the morning. And
Brutal.
we meet somewhere for breakfast. I forget where. And like, I keep telling him everything. He's like, well, why don't you just start your own? And I'm like, I sit there for a minute. I'm like, yeah, but that's scary because I have no idea how to do that, you know? And he's like, well, I can show you, you know, I can work with you to do it. So it really started during that meeting, and I filed the LLC in January 21. We started doing all the consulting, kind of going through the process. I started the company during COVID, and I had my 3 kids, I had my wife, I had her sister, her 2 kids, 3 dogs and a cat in the house during COVID. By the grace of God, I survived. But we started it in my kitchen, and that's where we started Brooks. And then we acquired the property probably middle of 2021, and then we opened in April 22.
Were you actively looking for properties, or did this kind of just happen upon you?
Coincidentally, Jamie had just been prospecting properties for other clients, and
What a dude.
he showed me that property, and
How large is the property?
36 acres.
Oh, wow, it's pretty big.
And we have 6 structures on the property. It's beautiful, man. We got low reps courses, kayaking, a lot of outdoor stuff being out in the country.
You have a little church setup going on there.
We do, yeah. Yeah, thanks for the layup. Yeah, we have a chapel, but it's more for the clients to go hang out. And we have 2 pool tables, ping pong. We have a full gym
That's awesome.
down there as well. So we try to keep them active.
So like 2021, this is all happening, and then you fully open in 2022.
Yeah.
Like, walk us through all that too, because this property has a lot of history, and since getting to know you over the years, I know a lot of it. But there was like baseball gloves, baseballs that were made there, and then it was a bed and breakfast. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit
Kind
more
of the
about
history of the property.
Yeah, because it's really interesting.
Yeah, because it was kind of cool because I remember one specific time I went to Lowe's and was talking to a lady, and she asked what we were doing, and I told her about the property, and she said her daughter actually used to work as a chef there on site because it was a bed and breakfast. So it was cool, and I knew that it was personal to the community. So I was very intentional on like letting the neighbors know who we are while we're doing what we're doing, and we have great neighbors as a result of that because we were very transparent. But it was bring me back on track. Where am I going with this?
A little bit of the history.
Yeah. So back in 1940, the property was bought by the parishes. The parishes moved from New York. They owned a cattle company. And so the wife was basically like, look, if I'm going to move from New York and I'm going to go out into the country in the middle of Normandy, Tennessee, we need places for our friends to stay. So they built 3 structures on the property. It was a private bed and breakfast, had an airstrip in the back, and they would fly
Legit.
high-profile people would come in and stay with them, or family would come stay, is how it started. But what happened was their cattle company started morphing into like baseballs, gloves. They started making bats, and they turned into Worth Baseball, which I don't know what age you are, but if you're my age,
48.
Okay, so 38. I remember the
Yeah.
Worth Baseball bats. So they were Worth Baseball that eventually sold to Louisville Slugger. But what's cool about it is they had a contract with the Atlanta Braves. So Miss Parrish was really good friends with Hank Aaron and his wife. So what they would do is when they had that contract for their bats, they would fly them up to the property, or they would drive them up. And they would stay on the property. They would go down to the mill. They would pick out their wood, and they would make their bats for them.
That crazy.
Awesome.
So it was pretty cool.
Cool
Like
story.
they had a neat relationship with them. A lot of country artists, Merle Haggard, Dixie Chicks, some other people that stayed on the property, thanks to Bonnaroo.
Oh yeah.
So like it has a rich history behind it, but they sold in 1980 to Calsonic. Calsonic is a parts company for Nissan, or they provide parts, Japanese owned. So they built 2 more the other 2 structures on the property. One was a conference center, which we converted into our detox unit, our medical unit. And then we had a house that is like 4 quadrants that houses 16 total, and that's what we turned into one of our quadruplexes. But it's kind of cool because Japanese they take really deep baths, so every one of our baths come up to your shoulders. So my water bill is extremely high as a result of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring you guys there.
It's pretty-
sometime, 'cause
it's pretty
freaking
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so neat.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. Awesome.
Congratulations to all the success that you guys are having now.
Thank you.
It sounds like it's been a great year and helping a lot of people.
Yeah.
But what's Brooks's plans moving forward? Because you were telling me something
Yeah.
earlier today.
Yeah. I mean, really just to kind of grow what we have. We're trying to really hone in on just our culture and our programming. That's one of our focuses going into the holidays, especially, is just how can we continue to bring new things, new modalities in, and just keep it interesting for the clients so that it's not repetitive. That's one of the things we're working on. And then we're going to move towards trying to extend length of stay by doing some extended care PHP housing. So if people's
That'll be
insurance
awesome.
is term early, like we're not pushing them out at 3 weeks to the next level of care, we can continue to give them care at Brooks Healing Center.
More healing.
Y'all take insurance? What? Do y'all take all the insurances? Pretty much?
Yeah, we take all the major insurances. We're in network with Cigna specifically. The others we can still
Do y'all take Medicaid?
We do not take
No,
Medicaid.
okay.
Medicaid, Medicare, and better are a no, but
And this is
everything
out-of-network
else.
bennies, right?
It is,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't know too. Like the good thing about out of network is you could be a little more flexible with people coming in, and I know that's a challenge. But like what I try to get families to understand is your niche facilities that are a little smaller milieu that are going to have a smaller feel, they're going to be out of network. So it really just depends on what you want. Your bigger, your in-network facilities are going to have a higher caseload with your therapist. So I think that's an advantage we have at Brooks, is we have 9 to a therapist. So they really get to pour into their people.
That's incredible.
And it's not just set to one individual session. They can actually put requests in if they need to see them.
Yeah, traditionally, I work a lot with ASAM, Tennessee Society of Addiction Medicine's president, but one of the things ASAM National is working on right now is Medicare reimbursement for rehab, level 3.1. So I think that's probably going to happen too, which will be great. Which it makes no sense that for listeners, in general, Medicaid is for lower income, the lower income population, and then Medicare is for the older population, 65 years old and older, basically. And it's like if you're 64, you can get a rehab and get it paid for, but you're 65, you can't anymore. It makes no sense.
Well, let me
Old
give
people
you
shouldn't be able to get addiction treatment.
I have a personal example of that.
Yeah.
So my uncle worked for Purity for 35 years and pretty much retired from there. And he had Blue Cross Blue Shield. for 35 years. And then he had issues because it runs in our family with alcohol and pain medication because he had neuropathy, and he also had adolescent diabetes, so he had a lot of nerve issues, right? Yeah. They made him convert to Medicare. We couldn't get him treatment. We had to pay out of pocket. The whole family had to come together just to put him through a program.
Wow.
And that, to your point, we won't go on that whole side topic. We could probably spend a whole session on that. But it's just, it is tough. It's tough.
Well, I think we're making progress on the Medicare side. So
I agree.
The legislators that I talked to in Washington, D.C. were very, they definitely received it well, and I think they will make some changes for Medicare. So I think those changes will come in the very near future.
Yeah, because you can only send them to, what is it? I don't know if we can drop, but like Lincoln Trails and some of these other, like you have Lincoln Trails and Turning Point. That's really it. And then from what I understand, they're not really doing residential coverage under that now, right?
Yeah.
They don't currently cover it, but I think they will.
But detox, they will.
In the near future. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll cover 7-day detox, but that's about it.
So that's tough because that's an outpatient. After that, that's all you can do.
For everybody, all the listeners, everybody probably already knows this, but yeah, 7-day detox is not gonna cut
keep you sober.
No. Long-term studies show that doesn't do a lot of good long-term. May keep you alive for 7 days, but you need something else. You need an outpatient clinic. You need a recovery center. All of the above, and you need it long-term.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you guys are saying this, but a couple quick questions. But in closing,
sure.
What do you think sets Brooks aside from everything else here? The detox reses here in Tennessee. Besides, the land that you have, the modalities, the 9 patients per therapist.
I would say honestly, I think it's so easy to say the people, right, and the culture, but I think it's just how we operate. We never operate in a gray area. We always do the next right thing as a business, which is, I think, something that's very unique to us because we stick to our guns when we have a belief in something, and so that's special, I think, but also the bigger piece is, I think, the mission. And the mission is to help as many people as possible. And so as a result of that, I think that we have a group of people that are fully invested in Brooks. And when you have that, and it took about 3 years to build and to find those people, you have something special because it doesn't, and you know this, like in residential treatment, everything trickles down. It comes down from management, then it goes down to your clinical staff, then it goes down to your BHT staff, and that goes down to your patients. If all those other people aren't okay or happy, those patients aren't going to be happy.
100%.
So I think it's just our culture and our environment.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad that you said all that because I've been to Brooks many times. I know everybody on your team. I've seen it, and I can definitely vouch for everything that you said. It's beautiful, and what you guys are doing is amazing.
Thank you, man. It's surreal.
Yeah, so everybody in listener land, please check it out. But then in closing, let's say you're with somebody that's still in active addiction, or there's a family member that has somebody in active addiction. What piece of advice would you give to them?
To the family member or the individual?
Let's start with the family member
because messaging would be different.
Yeah, let's start with the family member first.
Let me think of my mom. Because that'd probably be the easiest way. So if I was talking to a mom, because those are always the hard ones, those pull on your heartstrings, I would just say, look, I know that this isn't the kid that you remember, but just remember they're not who they were. And it's a result of the drugs and alcohol, but you have to put your foot down. You have to be able to tell them that they have to make this decision for themselves. But you're not going to continue to condone it. You're not going to give them a place to sleep. I'm not going to give you a place to continue your addiction because ultimately that's what my parents had to do, right? There was no more calling, I need grocery money, I need this. It was, we love you, and because we love you, we can't keep doing this. The day I saw my dad cry was the day that I really was ready to take and go to treatment, because that showed me that it was no longer about my behavior, it was concern, right? It's not Tyler's bad, it's Tyler's sick. So I think to the mom, it's like, you stay on it, you keep trying, you don't quit. If they don't get it the first time, you hold those boundaries and you get their butt back. Now, if it's the individual, I'd say, look, man, like at this point, how much pain do you want? You know, because nothing's going to change until you make that first step. You're going to continue to spin in circles. You may stop for a little bit, but eventually you'll be right back where you're at. The one thing I want you to do is just to have some awareness, to maybe be open-minded that there's another way, and to at least receive some help or be willing, because that's all it takes. If you can at least be willing and you can give it a shot, that starts the process. And I promise on the other end of it is a freedom you'll never understand, because I didn't think I was worthy enough to have that.
Same.
I didn't think I could have kids. I could have a family. I didn't think I could raise them the right way because I was broken. But you're never too broken to be fixed. And the biggest thing that I see is in people that have been through those experiences is they have more strengths as a result of those things that they went through. So if you can just give it a shot, take one step and say, I have a problem, that's the freaking start. And then we can help you with a solution.
I think I'm just going to repeat what you just said. You're never too broken to be fixed. It's powerful.
We're gonna
Think we
call
think
the
that
episode
often.
that actually. Everything that you just said is the reason why I love you as a person and love your mission and love Brooks and just the team that you put together and everything that you're doing in your life.
Thank you.
I love you.
Love you too, man.
Thanks, dude.
Great guy.
Funny story in closing here. When I was interviewing with you and Scott for the job at NAS, Tyler actually was offering me a job at Brooks Healing Center at the same time, but you guys offered first. So
Glad you went with us.
everything worked out
It did.
beautiful because you guys have Brandon Bolden and Scott and everybody on your team. Everything worked out great.
But do you know why?
Why's that?
Because I knew your heart was similar. Like, I knew that your mindset was the same. So, like, when I thought about somebody that I wanted to represent Brooks, I was like, well, I want them to carry the same mission. And I've always respected that about you, like just your ability to connect with people, you know, and also your empathy.
Thank you.
But, man, I value you, too, as a friend. I appreciate every bit of support you've given Brooks since we started.
Thank you.
Means a lot.
I appreciate it. And I can't thank you enough for sharing everything today. And I hope you come back on and within the next year and tell us everything you have going on with the PHP. And I know that you're starting a podcast too, right?
That's the plan. Now, after doing this one, I'll say I'll have to be a little more directed, because you did a great job keeping me and him on track. So,
Thank you.
Actually, he kept us on track too. So,
I agree.
but no, it's probably start it in January, and haven't really figured out where I'm going to go with it, which I think a lot of people start that way. But I just really want to hit on topics, not just around behavioral health, but maybe around things that kind of drive and influence culture and some of the things that are driving that too. So
It's really exciting.
you know, I
Love it.
think everything kind of works together, you know, so it's going to
Well,
be fun.
God has a plan for that too,
Yeah.
and He's had a plan for you all along.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thanks
excited.
for coming on the
thanks
podcast.
for
today.
having
We
me, man.
Really appreciate it. Yeah,
Enjoyed
thanks for
it.
sharing your story.
yeah, excited to see everything that you're going to be doing in the next year. And please, everybody in listener land, go check out Brooks Healing Center. And please like and subscribe the podcast here, Breaking Down Addiction. And please visit Tyler Bowman anywhere that you can find him. And thank you very much. God bless and love you, bro.
Love you too, man. Thank you. I enjoyed hanging out.